So you're not angry?
No, I'm not angry.
Never trust a woman who says she isn't angry.
Come on.
Tell me about it.
You're the one who's so angry these days. I thought writing for the paper would make you happy. Maybe you should call your wife.
Let me tell you something, Jules. Writing with the choice is not writing all my characters die in the end. I'd like to write something about the meaning of life for a change, you know?
St. Elmo's Fire is a 1985 film directed by Joel Schumacher in his directorial debut that would wind up becoming one of the most iconic films of the 1980s and the quintessential movie of the so-called Brat Pack genre. The story centers around a group of friends who are all recent graduates of Georgetown University and live in the Washington, D.C. area. Kirby Keeger, played by Emilio Estevez, who is a waiter and law student.
There are several quintessential moments in a man's life. Losing his virginity, getting married, becoming a father, and having the right girl smile at you.
I'm not going to live through another year of finding your poorly written unmailed love scratchings around this house.
His roommate Kevin Collins, played by Andrew McCarthy, who is a writer for the Washington Post. Judd Nelson plays Alec Newberry, a yuppie pursuing a career in politics, who plans on marrying budding architect Leslie Hunter, played by Ali Sheedy, but finds himself screwing around with other women.
Leslie has to marry me soon.
Why, are you pregnant? What is your marriage, hurry?
I'm gonna kill myself.
It's only peppers out.
I can't believe what I just did. I innocently go downtown to buy the nightgown, and this amazingly leggy blonde sales girl offers to model it for me. So we wind up doing it standing up in the dressing room in front of a three-way mirror.
So there's 6 of you.
Ha ha ha. If Leslie would just marry me.
Marriage is going to make you faithful.
Yes.
I'm sorry. The notion of 2 people spending their entire lives together was invented by people who were lucky to make it to 20 without being eaten by dinosaurs.
Jules Van Patten, who works as a banker but holds on to her party girl lifestyle, is portrayed by Demi Moore, while the timid and wealthy social worker Wendy Beamish, played by Mare Winningham, is still a virgin.
I thought you were going to definitely take steps to cut out everything that wasn't working in your life.
Doesn't leave much. I better break this to Alex gently.
Hi, Les. How you doing?
You know this thing with you and Billy is way too destructive.
Life of a fatling.
When you're not fat.
My thighs are fat. No diet works. Only way to lose weight in your thighs is amputation.
You know you need to amputate is Billy the kid.
I know, but I can't.
I don't get it.
Me neither.
To top off the friends list is Billy Hicks, played by Rob Lowe, a reluctant husband and father who plays saxophone in a band and can't seem to shake off the frat days of college.
Remember Ray Slater? The guy I was going out with before I met you? He came by to see me yesterday. He still wants to marry me. He said he'd take care of me and Melody.
Don't you give up on me.
We could probably still get an annulment.
No! I'm gonna change. I'm gonna get the right job. Look, there's gonna be no more drinking and no more women. You're not gonna believe how out of hand it's gonna be.
They often gather at their favorite college hangout, St. Elmo's Bar. Numerous storylines take place throughout the film. The budding romances between Kevin and Leslie, as well as the flirtatiousness between the rock and roll personality of Billy and the timid personality of Wendy. Jules' affair with her married boss, and Kirby's obsession over a hospital intern named Dale, played by Andy McDowell. All of these storylines converge as the characters try to navigate past their college age and towards real adulthood.
It's our time on the edge.
I'm just so tired, Billy. I never thought I'd be so tired at 22.
I just don't even know who to be anymore.
Join the club. You know, no one was buying this together woman of the 80s stuff anyway.
This movie was written and directed by Joel Schumacher in his directorial debut and had a somewhat difficult time getting off the ground. Columbia Pictures hated the title, going so far as to send a 35-page memo listing all of their issues with the proposed title and suggested alternatives such as The Real World and Sparks. According to the director Joel Schumacher, a lot of people turned down the script, and one head of a major studio even called its 7-member cast, quote, the most loathsome humans he had ever read on the page. The private Catholic Jesuit Georgetown University would not permit filming on campus, so the university seen on film is the Public University of Maryland, located 10 miles away in College Park, Maryland. St. Elmo's Bar is based on The Tombs, a popular watering hole with Georgetown University students. For the exterior shots, a full street set built at Universal Studios in Los Angeles, California was used. The movie was shot in the fall of 1984.
This isn't real. You know what it is? It's St. Elmo's fire. Electric flashes of light that appear in dark skies out of nowhere.
The film's title, St. Elmo's Fire, is derived from a real-life meteorological phenomenon which is mentioned in the movie. It is a weather phenomenon in which luminous plasma is created by a coronal discharge from a sharp or pointed object in a strong electric field in the atmosphere. Although, according to Rob Lowe's character, it doesn't even exist.
But the joke was on them. There was no fire. There wasn't even a St. Elmo.
Jodie Foster, Jennifer Beals, Tatum O'Neal, and Joan Cusack were all offered the role of Jules, and they all turned it down. The part went to actress Demi Moore. Demi Moore came in on a motorcycle for her audition with the tags still on her clothes. Rob Lowe walked into his audition with a 6-pack of Corona beer. Brooke Shields, Meg Ryan, Jamie Lee Curtis, Melanie Griffith, Sarah Jessica Parker, Bridget Fonda, Elizabeth Shue, and Jennifer Jason Leigh were all considered for the role of Leslie. That role went to Ali Sheedy. Emilio Estevez and Demi Moore began dating during the filming of the movie. Emilio Estevez said he was deeply in love with Demi Moore. For a time they were even engaged, although the two never married. Mare Winningham was actually 26 years old and pregnant during filming, despite playing a virgin. Martin Balsam and Joyce Van Patten, who play Wendy's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Beamish, were married in real life from 1957 to 1962. Andie MacDowell credits this film for changing her life and her career, as this was her big break. Actor Blake Clark, who would star in many Adam Sandler comedy hit films in the 1990s and into the 21st century, has his feature film debut in this movie. Rob Lowe's character of Billy Hicks was said to have greatly inspired Dacre Montgomery's character of Billy Hargrove in the hit television series Stranger Things in the 2010s and 2020s. The booga booga cheer that the friends do when they are celebrating or just in a good mood was not originally in the script. Rob Lowe stated that the cheer came out of observing fans in the distance whispering about the stars of the movie and then laughing. They said from far away it sounded like ha ha ha, a booga booga booga, ha ha ha, and so they put it in the movie. St. Elmo's Fire was a box office hit. It was released June 28, 1985, and ended up grossing $37.8 million on a $10 million budget. The instrumental song, The Love Theme from St. Elmo's Fire, written by David Foster, actually has lyrics. It's called The Love Theme from St. Elmo's Fire, for just a moment. It was released as a single in the United States, and the instrumental version reached number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the adult contemporary charts. Singer John Parr, who co-wrote and sang the title song St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion, for the soundtrack, was not particularly thrilled to be working on this movie, and he said that the song was written in honor of Paralympian and fundraiser Rick Hansen. That song went to number 1 on the United States Billboard Hot 100 chart on September 7th, 1985, where it stayed for 2 weeks. This film is known by many as being the quintessential movie of the so-called Brat Pack genre. The Brat Pack was started in New Yorker magazine by David Blum, who wrote an article after he shadowed Emilio Estevez and came up with the term Brat Pack. In a 2023 podcast interview with Michael Rosenbaum, Andrew McCarthy stated that most of the cast hated being called the Brat Pack.
Anyway, so it was a really negative, pejorative thing, and we fucking hated it. And we thought, who wants to be called a brat? Who wants to be in a pack? It adversely affected our careers because we were we were now perceived as this. I was like, Martin Scorsese's not going to call up anybody in the Brat Pack, and he never did. So,
This film has more of the Brat Pack in it than any cast of any of the other pictures of the period. The core members include Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, and Ali Sheedy. Missing from this film are Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall, but they had appeared in The Breakfast Club the same year, alongside Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, and Emilio Estevez. That means that The Breakfast Club had a total of 5 Brat Pack members in the cast. St. Elmo's Fire has 6. This film was released in the summer of 1985, which was literally in the middle of the decade of the 1980s. It was the center of the year, the center of the decade. You don't get more middle of the 1980s than the summer of 1985. Now, that was the same summer Back to the Future was released, and I consider Back to the Future probably the quintessential 1980s film. Some people consider this movie the quintessential 1980s film, but I always thought Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Fast Times at Ridgemont High were ahead of it. Nevertheless, it's obviously one of the most iconic films of the 1980s. I heard of this movie when I was young in the 1990s, but I actually never saw it until during the pandemic summer of 2020. I enjoyed the acting, but I have to agree with some of those studio people. The characters are loathsome. I mean, Andrew McCarthy seems down, Demi Moore seems down, but damn does she look good. Ali Sheedy seems down, Judd Nelson is a cheater, Mare Winningham is meek, and Emilio Estevez is pathetic the way he becomes infatuated with Andie MacDowell. To be honest, the character that I like best would be Rob Lowe. He has the most positive outlook, but his character has problems. I also want to add that I do not think that Rob Lowe and Mare Winningham have any chemistry. His character is sexy and cool, and her character is like frumpy Little Miss Muffet.
What the hell is that? It's your scuba suit. Wind, I'm really sorry. You're allowed to have fun when you're screwing. And I'm sorry.
I don't think we should see each other anymore.
I did not see that relationship coming in this movie. However, the acting is superb, and of course it is so iconic that I'll go ahead and recommend it. I'll give it 8 stars. It is a good movie, and if you are a fan of iconic films, a fan of the Brat Pack genre, and a fan of the 1980s, then you should watch St. Elmo's Fire.